So I was about 12 or 13, and I remember sitting in a room alone. My mom was in the lobby, and I remember this woman coming in, and she was like, Kendra, so we've done some tests, and we've come to the discovery that you're actually both a girl and a boy. Um, and um, yeah, I just yeah, hearing that at 12, 13 was a lot. I'm not entirely sure where to begin this or how to. It's something that is around 20 years in the making from when I first found out as a child that I was very different from the majority of the people I was surrounded by. It's played a major role in how my life has transpired, how I've lived, and the decisions I've made. This is liberating, therapeutic. It's just crazy. Never would have never would have thought that I'd be talking to anyone about this. Um, you know, let alone the whole world. I was born with androgen insensitivity syndrome, AIS. As a baby, I was born with the physical appearance of a female, but the genetic makeup of a male. I go back and think to my younger self, 6, 7-year-old girl, I'm going to school, I have my friends, but I think deep down, I could feel something was different. When puberty began, my body was not developing in the way that a normal, functioning female would be. At that age, you don't really understand because everything you're taught in school, growing up and by society and everyone is that there's two genders, you're either one or the other. So to hear that was confusing, was overwhelming, and it's a moment I'll never forget. I started playing golf when I was 7 and, had a really successful college career. So I turned pro 2012 and lived the life of a professional golfer on tour. I think for a couple of reasons I was able to play golf as a female. On my birth certificate, I was born female, and only until later did I discover that I was actually genetically male. The fact that it wasn't something that was necessarily being looked for, obviously coupled with the fact that I was on, hormonal treatment to keep at bay the male hormones, was essentially why I was able to compete. This is a picture, I think 2014. This was right at the end of when I stopped taking estrogen hormone treatment, and I can tell a difference. A little heavier, softer, definitely a little bit more feminine from an aesthetic standpoint. Someone's born as a male or a female, you don't call it a condition, it's just how they were born. I felt like I was the only one in the world going through this and I had no one to relate to, and I was this genetic freak of this girl/boy. It was so deep-rooted and covered up that it's like I didn't even think it was real. I convinced myself that, oh no, I am normal. I'm just a typical female. It's fascinating how something that is bringing a lot of good things into your life is really preventing you from embracing who you really are. The conditions and the requirements of golf, require you to be put in a box. You're either female or you're male, and there's no in between. So in playing that, I forcibly put myself in one box, and in a way, I think it fed into my life and it made me more comfortable. It almost gave me the permission to dig this lie deeper. Everyone reading this letter is under the assumption and belief that I stopped playing golf because I lost the passion for it and because I didn't want to do it anymore, which is partly true. But it stems from a bigger issue. Had I continued to play on the Symetra Tour and aspired to play on the LPGA, I would have been drug tested and been found out to have abnormal levels of testosterone. The fear, anxiety, and stress of having to own up to facing these truths and the possibility of people finding out about me was something I wasn't prepared to deal with, and thus led to my decision to stop playing. Deciding not to play, I was able to step back into reality. And even at the time, again, I wasn't in a position where I was really wanting or willing to embrace, who I am. But in stopping playing golf, that's what set the wheels in motion to getting on this path of self-discovery and liberating myself. So this drive from Eugene to Portland and Portland to Eugene, it's the main artery, leading from both cities, and I had to make the drive up here with my mom to OHSU to the doctor's appointment that kind of revealed, how I was born, and just tons of memories driving up and down this freeway. It's a unique thing to have to explain to someone without taking into consideration social norms in society and the way everything is set up, for two genders. It's funny that you would need to sit down and have this conversation with people. I'm still learning as I go how to communicate this to people, how I go about, kind of telling the story. And yeah, all this is, fresh and new, just kind of figuring it out as I go, kind of. I think the overriding thing about this whole situation is it was never clearly expressed to me that the way I was born was okay. The way my parents and the doctors down there explained it to me was from a place of protection, but after that initial visit, never really had a conversation about it with my parents again.
Do you feel like the way we raised you or growing up, was there anything that we could have done any differently?
I think it's easy to look back in hindsight and say, well, we could have done this differently, and maybe this would have been dealt with for my personal development sooner, and I wouldn't have gone through some of the things I went through. But you're just doing what you think is best. You're taking advice from these doctors who you think has your best interest at heart, and that's not necessarily the case. And it's not because they're bad people. It's just maybe a lack of...
It's just general knowledge.
Yeah. I don't know that you were aware of how big of an influence and impact you had on my life. Being that older sister and being that female, figure in my life in a time where maybe I wasn't directly aware of the internal battle I was having between, masculine and feminine energy. Obviously, I identify as female, and I have female characteristics, and that is what I identify as. And so to have just that older sister and that influence to help me with putting on makeup or doing my hair or, whatever it was.
You're still the same person.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We just see you for who you are and love you for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be a mixed bag of reactions, but for the first time in my life, it's not something that I'm concerned about. Because I am the way I am, I'm tall, athletic, masculine, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I think to people that are gonna be seeing me for the first time, they're gonna be like, well, yeah, obviously.
Carl and I talked a little bit about it and decided that we would leave all the choices up to Kendra.
Yeah.
And the way it's come about for you in a natural way is, for us, the best way it could have happened.
It's been a relief, the way it happened. Really,
it's a relief, and it's just a blessing.
Yeah.
Self-discovery is far better than any other kind of discovery.
I'm literally not recognized as a person. There's no institution that recognizes what my genetic, makeup is, who I am. And it's not a case of wanting to be put in a box, but it's just a matter of just wanting to be seen.
Trying not to cry. I just think the journey that Kendra's been on It's just relief and pride and happiness for her and love.
You know, I'll often sit there and think about how, you know, I could pass someone in the grocery store that could be like identical to me, and they don't have this platform like to share this story. They just go about their life, and it is what it is, and that's something that I don't take for granted, and I feel extremely lucky. And hopefully it reaches people like that they can, in a way, experience this through me and feel seen and feel validated and feel things that, you know, they've been denied in their experience. I feel empowered. Everything that I saw myself for and as growing up that I was ashamed of and embarrassed over are now things about me that I love the most and things that set me apart and make me unique. Part of, you know, life, obviously, as you get older, you start to develop more serious and more intimate relationships, obviously. And because I was living in this secret and not feeling like I was able to share it with anyone, it really prevented me from having any form of intimate relationship. But that all changed when I met someone last summer that I felt like I could tell and share my truth with. Once I told her, it just completely shifted the paradigm in which, you know, I was living, and I was like, okay, maybe I should have a conversation with my family about this. And obviously my parents knew, but my siblings didn't, and I ended up writing a letter to them and just strengthened the bond between all of us, even with this secret that I was keeping from them. I'm not entirely sure where to begin this or how to. It's something that is around 20 years in the making, from when I first found out as a child that I was very different from the majority of the people I was surrounded by. It's played a major role in how my life has transpired, how I've lived, and the decisions I've made. I was born with androgen insensitivity syndrome, AIS. If you're wondering what or who I identify as, it's both. I feel very much female and feminine in certain instances, and very much male and masculine in other instances. I don't expect you guys to understand how any of this feels or what it's like to live the life of someone who is both female and male. It's unexplainable and difficult to put into words. However, this is something that at some point needed to be openly expressed and shared, for my sake and yours. At 30 years old, I'm experiencing what it's like to be completely open and real with someone for the first time. I'm experiencing love for the first time. I'm experiencing normalcy for the first time. I'm fully aware that life doesn't just pause because of this. I guess what I'm saying is I don't have a handbook for what I'm going through and to feel all these things for the first time. I'm trying to figure it out, and we'll figure it out. Knowing what I know now and where my life currently stands, I wouldn't change anything about how everything is unfolded. I love you. I wouldn't trade you guys for anything. With love, Kendra.